everyone. Oops-a-daisy, there we go. Welcome to today's session. This is Cat Diva here, and I'm really happy to be welcoming you back to the Eden Room events. This is our psychic series this week. Really lovely time of the year to be delving into this subject, because the new moon in Pisces was on Monday, and the sun is in its final week of Pisces this week. So it's the end of the astrological year. Pisces is this beautiful, deep, watery sign, and it's a fantastic time for us to be tapping in to our intuition, kind of feeling into the river below the river, those deeper waters. And if you think you're an intuitive person, you're really in the right place today, because we're going to take everything to a whole new level. And if you think you are not an intuitive person, and sometimes you feel like you could just kick yourself because you don't trust yourself, you don't listen to yourself, or you're really controlled and ruled by what other people think of you, or what you think other people think you should do, and you find it hard to really listen to your own inner voice, you're in the right place, because we're going to be excavating all of this. We're going to be excavating your inner wisdom and helping you tune into that and realize there's nothing weird about this. There's nothing scary about this. There's nothing woo-woo about this. It's completely natural. It's completely normal for every human on the planet to have this level of wisdom and connection that is actually our birthright. And I'm going to be sharing with you in the next 60 minutes how you can tap into that and reclaim your birthright, reclaim your family, your intuition. It's got a message to me saying family. Reclaim your power, right? Reclaim this soft power within you, and the magic of the alignment and the synchronicities and the really wonderful abundance that starts to unfold in a very organic and natural way when you allow yourself to connect like this. So I want to hear in the comments, do you think you're intuitive? Give me a yes or a no if you think you are an intuitive person. I want today to be quite interactive, so feel free to put questions in, say hello if you're joining us live. If you're watching this on the replay, you'll absolutely get the benefit of it, and just set your intention for this event today. In the next hour, what is it that you need a breakthrough around? Like, what is it that you feel ready to really alchemize in this area of your life? Are you someone who is already living in this current, feeling your way, following your energy, trusting yourself, like getting these big synchronistic results? Or are you someone that's doubting and hesitating and finds it hard to be sure-footed with this? Hi Sophie, hi Runa. I'm going to bring Runa up very shortly, because she is an incredible healer and someone who works every day with her intuition. And I want to share with you just briefly a little bit about my backstory. Is I've spent the last 11 years getting paid for my intuition, getting paid for my intuitive business consulting, getting paid for my guidance, my take on things, my ability to see the big picture for somebody, my ability to help somebody feel their way into the next steps, and really work with another human being or another soul to guide them in a very intuitively led way, so that they then kind of like deepen and receive more confidence and trust in themselves, and they can value their own intuitive gifts, value whatever they're here on the planet to do much more. And that is something that was really frightening for me to step into, because I always had this fear growing up that I was wrong, that I was somehow, different, and it was a little bit shameful. I was a little bit cringy. It was a bit embarrassing. It was certainly very hard for me to step into my business in my 20s, when a lot of my friends didn't really understand what I was doing. And maybe I didn't even fully consciously understand myself. I just knew to take the next step, like the next right step, the next thing that I had to do, to just trust my intuition no matter what, to follow it through and do the next right thing. And the next right thing was always shown to me. So this is the thing with your intuition. It doesn't always show you the whole entire picture, but your intuition has I always say it has the picture on the front of the jigsaw box. Like your higher self, your intuition already knows the whole picture of your life, the whole situation of what your soul signed up for in this lifetime, what's going to bring you fulfillment, what's going to make you the most money, what's going to be the right course of action. And your conscious mind doesn't have that big picture. Your conscious mind has all these little pieces of the puzzle and is trying to figure them out. So sometimes aligning and tapping into that big picture, that intuition, that still small voice of calm, won't always make logical sense. And that's where we get tripped up, because we miss it. We miss the cues. We doubt it. Maybe we hear the cues, but then our logical mind comes in and says that can't possibly make any sense, that or what will people think if I go ahead with that thing. So that's how we often sabotage our intuition. So I want you to affirm out loud or write it down, I am intuitive. And I trust my intuition above all else. That was the game changer for me. I found myself at the end of my 20s I was a Reiki master, I was a healer, I'd studied copywriting and internet marketing for like 3 years. And I was just sort of tired and broke, and I was at the end of my rope. And I remember sitting down in my childhood bedroom and just praying and writing it down, like, I'm going to trust my intuition. I am going to do whatever you tell me to do. I just surrendered and said, okay, that's it. Like, this is as far as I've got with my conscious mind, and it's not looking great. So I'm going to hand this over. I'm going to let this go and surrender it and see what happens from there. And literally within 4 months, I had a 6-figure business. I'd moved into this beautiful eco house on the Somerset Levels. I was completely in my element. I was getting speaking gigs all around the world, getting high ticket clients. I was 29 years old. It was 11 years ago. And I didn't care that anyone thought I was mad. I didn't care what anyone else thought, because my life felt so good to me. I felt so good. So I want you to write down, I deserve to feel good. So it's, I am intuitive. I trust my intuition, and I give myself permission to feel good. Because as we're going to find out, I'm going to bring Runa on, we're going to talk a lot about how your intuition connects with your feelings and your emotions, and how to kind of work with your emotions in an alchemical way to clear out trauma, to remove blockages, to remove self-sabotage, so that you can actually align and get moving. And this is when it gets like crazy exciting. You can see me like lighting up, because I literally lived through this. I lived through years of struggle to then just get on my knees, surrender the game, and start living from my intuition, no matter what it told me to do. And it told me to do some crazy things. I was totally broke. The only thing I owned was this little mini Rio, and it said to me, go to this event in Las Vegas. And I sold this little mini Rio to go to this event, like my only possession in the world. And at that event, that's where I met my mentor. That's where my life started to turn around. That's where I learned how to use my gifts and make money from my gifts. And I learned so much about just bringing these worlds together that I didn't know how to integrate, right? The business, marketing, digital, online marketing world, and the kind of soulful, spirit-led, Reiki, intuition, all of that. Yeah, so I'm just getting some love in the comments. And I just want to acknowledge you all and thank you all for being here. Hi if you're new, and welcome back if you've been with us before. It's so lovely to hear from you. Oh, JJ says she has trouble with empathy overriding intuition for her, and what she should do for herself and not others. You've probably got open hearts then to love you. That's so sweet. We're going to bring Runa on. We're going to definitely talk about this, because you're not alone. That happens for me too. I'm always putting myself at the bottom of the list, and I'd like to change that somehow. Okay, so let's set the intention, JJ. You're in the right place, and we can transform that today. So give me a yes in the comments if you're up for that. Lynn says, I'm aware of my intuition, and when I listen, things flow, but I don't always listen. Yeah. Put some hearts and emojis in the comments if you can relate. I sure can. So you ladies, we're going to create a real nice vortex today for you. We're going to activate your intuition today. We're really going to turn this up. And so much of it is about being available to receive this. Like, can you feel it? It's like you know, it's like the sun, like it's always existing, but there's sometimes stuff in the way, like we get in our own way, right? And there's like this overcast sky, and there's days where it's like, I just, you know, I don't know what to do, or I'm confused, or I'm held back, or like I'm doubting myself. And we're gonna help you today to kind of like hack it and to find ways. It doesn't mean that there'll never be a cloudy day again. It doesn't mean you'll ever not listen to yourself, but you'll really start to find the ways to shortcut that process. And if this is all new to you, you'll really find the ways to give yourself permission to live from your center and really make this a lot easier. Like make this just a part of your life, the same way like brushing your teeth and those little healthy habits that keep you just tuned in, just keep you tuned up. So amazing. Hi everyone. It's so good to have you with us. I'm so excited to stir the pot with you all. I'm going to bring Runa on, and while I do, I want to talk to you who's a little bit new to this about the different types of intuition. So just how we have 5 senses. So tell me in the comments, what are our 5 senses? Tell me about our 5 physical senses. Hello, Runa in Costa Rica.
Hello. Kat in England.
Thanks for being with us. Yeah, it's so amazing to have such an intuitive powerhouse. And I know that you want to share a bit about today, emotional alchemy, and I really want to riff with you on helping people to release any trauma that they might be holding in their bodies, and how to work with the body to really get those divine downloads in the now, you know, not to miss the moment, and to, you know, and just to share a bit about maybe your journey as well of coming into full trust with your own intuition and leaving behind well, you know, not completely leaving behind in a negative sense, but evolving through different spiritual constructs as well. Because I think a big part of trusting your intuition is recognizing that God is not a construct, right? God is not anything you think God is. and there's a lot of healing that has to happen for women, I think, around religion and spirituality and what it means. And even the word God can be very triggering. So if you hear me talking about God, I'm talking about the divine. I find it very hard to talk about intuition without bringing the infinite into that conversation, because in my opinion, your prayers, your desires, your requests are you phoning the divine, you phoning infinite intelligence, you asking the universe, right? And then your intuition is the divine calling you back. It's the divine like returning the call. And then if we don't pick up the call, if we don't listen, or if we don't follow it, like who's that on? Like that's on us. It's like the little story of the woman praying to win the lottery, and God's like, buy a ticket, you know, you've got to buy a ticket, like you've got to do the next thing. Like God feeds the crows, but even the crows get out of their nest and they go and like peck the ground, right? So there is like a two-way street with this, and Runa, you're someone who I think speaks so eloquently to that, and I wanna riff with you on it. I'm just getting everyone in the comments to share about the senses, right? We have 5 physical senses. So we have, and I don't know if anyone's stuck them in the comments, but this is exactly like how your intuition works. So we have sight, we have smell, we have taste, we have touch, and we have audio, sound, hearing. And your intuition is no different. Now, a lot of people think they're not intuitive because they're not clairvoyant. Clairvoyant is just one way your intuition can speak to you. Now, I am not clairvoyant really. Like, I do get the odd visual, I get the odd flash, and I get funny little metaphors shown to me a lot, but I don't see things in that sense. And I'm not a massively visual person in my day-to-day life either. I'm a very audio person, I'm a very kinesthetic person, and so I have clairaudience, clairsentience, and claircognizance. Now, this is the one for most women. It's just a cognizance, a knowing, just a feeling or a knowing inside your body. Like, you know, when old women say, or like that saying, it's like, I feel it in my bones, like, I feel it in my waters. That's about claircognizance, is I feel it in my bones. Clairsentience is I feel it in my waters. It's just moving through me. It's in my emotions, it's in my awareness. It's just something feels a bit off here, or something feels really good about that, and I want to move towards it, and like, that's touching me, that's moving me, I'm drawn to that. Or like, ooh, I'm not sure, like that sounds good, but I don't feel right, or this, I just feel nothing. Like, I'm being told that this is important, but I don't get a response, right? And we as women have doubted a lot of that. We've come to doubt that, and this is what we're going to dive into today, because part of activating your intuition is really just removing the resistance, removing the self-sabotage, removing the patterns and the trauma and the blocks that are in the way, because this is the natural flow. Like, you don't see a tree struggling to grow. You don't see a cat doubting itself when it's hunting a mouse. Like, nature doesn't do that. We're the only animals that do that because our conscious mind gets in the way. So this is the divine universal order that we're tapping into, and our intuition allows us to do that. And the more we clear out the channels and move out of our own way and get rid of the sort of hang-ups and the stories and the conditioning, the more that can just flow through us, and we can just ride those currents and surf those waves and really enjoy our lives with so much more ease and so much more magic. And that's what I want to introduce you to. That's what I invite you to today. So let's set your intentions for this session. We're going to be together for about another 40 minutes. That is plenty of time, because all time is right now. That's the other thing, right? This present moment, all the power is in the present moment. So I'm going to invite you even just switch off everything else. Do you know what? Just take a break. Like, just be with us now in this session. Because you know what? These 40 minutes could have a radical impact on the rest of your life. And I'm not in hyperbole when I say that. It's so powerful that you can actually begin working smarter, not harder, saving yourself hours every day, moving through your world in a way that is extremely efficient. Because as you can tell from nature doesn't waste, right? Nature doesn't like take. It just has this flow, this abundance, this, you know, you take abundance from abundance and still abundance remains. It's this moving through, this overflow. And so resting into this time and giving yourself permission to allow this information into your body, and this transmission in to your heart and mind and soul, I promise you it will pay you dividends for a long time. So just give yourself permission to show up right now. You're showing up for your higher self. You're showing up for your highest timeline. You're showing up for this session with me and Runa here. Like, we're giving you this. We've got no fee, no strings attached. We're doing this for our Eden Remembers, just because we absolutely stand by this teaching. This is something that has changed our lives, and that all women have access to. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't need any fancy tools. It's right here, right now, and it's available for us all of our daughters. We need to get this as a species, right? And as women, we get to lead the way, and we get to heal this injured instinct. It's not your fault if you have had this instinct injured, right? There was a huge genocide on wise women, on intuitive beings, and you know, there's a lot to be said for that. I think it's in The Women Who Run with the Wolves, and she talks about the dog that was like constantly electrocuted, and in the beginning it moves to the other side of the cage, and then it gets another trauma and it moves to the other side of the cage, then it gets traumatized again, and after a while this dog just like stops trying to move, and it just gives up, and it just goes, oh well, this is my lot, this is my story, this is my life, I'm not intuitive, or I can never be successful, or you know, it's just too hard, and gives up. And there's a lot of women right now that our instincts have been so injured, we've been so messed with on so many levels, that part of us has just sort of like settled into this very mundane reality, and we can't even experience the magic anymore. But I promise you that if you give yourself this time, and it's not a long time, you can reawaken to that magic even straight after this session. And I want to hear from you. I already had somebody from like the first event of this psychic series saying they slept well for the first time in ages. It's like realigning their energy. Like, this work goes beyond what you're hearing me say. We're not just giving you information, we're giving you a transmission, we're giving you a healing, and we're creating a field of intention today. So this is for a ripple effect for all the women in your line as well. So it's not just the words that you're consciously hearing me say. I want you to feel your body as we talk. I want you to get grounded and be here, be present, and have that in your muscle, because that's the practice that's going to keep bringing you back to your own power. And we're not here to give you a fish today. We're here to give you a fishing line. We're here to teach you how to fish. So you go away from this call, and this is like in you. This is something you get to then develop and work with, and the seed is sown for an even more incredible expression of the magic in your life and the flow and the goodness that's available for you. All right, so give me a I'm in if you're up for some of that juice. We've got some yummy emojis in the comment. Yes, 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 yes. All right, ladies. So let me properly welcome Rue. Hey, Rue.
Hey.
Hi. Well, I just want to kind of pass you the mic right now, and let's connect to this flow here about the kind of first step for clearing the path, because I would love to hear a little bit about your journey with this, and I guess what you've learned in the last few years that maybe was counter to some of the ideas that you'd had about your intuition before.
Okay, sure. I'd love to. I'm so happy to be
here.
Yeah, distinctions.
You're
okay.
Like the queen of distinctions.
Great, I'm in. Yeah, I'm just going to start with that and then trust that everything else kind of fills in, because as you were talking, the first distinction or like area that came up has to do with projections. I think people being afraid that they're projecting their past or their childhood trauma on a situation is one of the #1 things I hear from my clients and just friends about places where they're not trusting their intuition, because they think, oh, this is just my wound, this is just my trauma, I'm having a really weird feeling about this, so it must be that like I'm putting something on this situation. And look, I'm also the queen, or I also really delve into all that kind of stuff, how we clear out the trauma, how we clear out the past, because that creates these veils over our experience and can really shift our experience of what's here in the present. But I feel like one of those spiritual constructs that has gotten way out of hand is that of projections, because like our body has stuff to tell us all the time. And it's true, you may have a disproportionate reaction to what's going on, and that may be from your past, but usually there's something. And something we've talked about a lot, Kat, is how our intuition very often speaks to us as this like little bit of this like energy just pulling at our awareness just ever so slightly, and it can show up as irritation. It's not always like, oh, I'm sitting in meditation and I just like have this thing get dropped off, you know?
Download.
I'm just downloading from the universe right now.
Came out and they unrolled a scroll saying, go to the woods
totally.
Like,
no,
it's just like a tugging or a like, what is that in the like edges of my consciousness. And you say it's like a stone in my shoe, and I always say it's like an itch I can't scratch. Like, what is that?
Exactly.
And it's like, but it's something trying to get your attention over here.
Exactly.
Like outside of your everyday awareness. And what we need to remember at this point, you all, is that light is this frequency, and we only see this very limited bandwidth. So in terms of being multi-dimensional beings, Runa, you break that down, because I love the way you describe that, of how that works. Like, how can we be in more than one place? Like, how does it work with what we're actually perceiving and then reality?
Okay, I'll do my best. I hope I have the answer to that.
I'm inviting you.
Well, I was just thinking about, I wrote this thing down. Whatever is present here in the now has everything I need to know about the question I'm asking. Right? So I'm going to get to your question. So let me just lead in from here, which is that when I set an intention, okay, when you set an intention, it's a very powerful thing. And then there's like this quote unquote empty space in the after that, right? In that empty space, there's all of this information, and we just have to learn how to hear it, right? And that's where we rely on the senses that are outside of that visible light spectrum. But if you've ever looked up the remote viewing experiments that the CIA did for many, many times, like they would tell a meditator, they would give them an envelope with a random string of letters and numbers that signified some place and time in history, not just a place on the planet, but a place and a random time in history. And the person meditating would not know what was in the envelope, or what that random number of letters signified, they would go in the meditation and they would be asked to sense into whatever that string signified. And they would get all these impressions, they would get all this information, they would be able to accurately talk about that instance of the multidimensional experience of life. So for me, what that tells me is our consciousness is completely free, right? Our consciousness does not reside in our body, right? Our body is simply the way that we use to bridge the experience of our consciousness in this realm, right? So what that tells me also is that I can fly. I can fly to any point in space and time and know exactly what's going on there and receive that information and get accurate information about anything in the universe. And that actually, personally, I believe the information I get that way is way more accurate once I've done some work to cultivate it than anything that I would get, you know, from the media. So.
Right. So let's take this precedent then. You are an all-powerful being.
Yeah.
You are this expanded consciousness. You are the power in this world. Okay, so this is the truth. Now, let's come back to, like, we're these human beings with all these insecurities and all these what we perceive as huge flaws. And what I hear you saying is, like, a lot of times it's about we make ourselves wrong. Like, we project trauma, or like we think, oh, that must just be me. It's a weird feeling. It must be my stuff, right? Instead of trusting that feeling and then going into that feeling and being like, what's going on? So let's say we're these all-powerful beings, and then here's this gap. Here's this gap. We want to close that gap so that we integrate this idea as women that, yes, we are human beings. Yes, we're flawed. Yes, we're imperfect. Yes, we're human. Very, very human, right? Like, so human. And at the same time, we have access to this hugely expanded awareness and knowing that we are, like, touching the very hem of the skirt of the divine feminine, of that wise, wild, free power. Okay, so that intuitive power. So when we want to, like, connect, like, the way it's, like, quite a handy metaphor is, like, you know, the difference between dial-up internet and, like, Wi-Fi internet, or, like, really high frequency internet. When we want to get that, like, connection going where it's so much stronger and it's, like, instant, which is what's available now, we need to clear out the blocks in the way. So I want everyone to just grab a pen and paper for me, and I want you to start at the top of your head and take 1 minute. I want you to write why you're not intuitive, or why it's not safe for you to trust your intuition, or why up until now you haven't trusted your intuition. So in other words, what are your fears, stories, and blocks about your intuition, and what it would look like to really live from it? Like, so if I was to really live from my intuition, it would mean what? Like, you know, my husband would divorce me. I'd lose all my money. I'd be homeless. Like, what are the fears? Like, clean out the baggage. Like, people would think less of me. You know, whatever it is, like, bring this out to the surface. Like, bring this up so that we can clear it, and bring it up so that you can be free. You can be free from these limitations that have actually stopped you from really plugging in to your full intuitive power. Rue, anything on that to add?
Yeah, people have talked about a few times that, like, there's what their intuition says, and then, like, the logical mind comes in, or the empathy override, or whatever. And just to recognize, like, everything that resides in your logical mind is programming. That's all stuff that you just inherited through your DNA from when you're 1 to 7. And if you just think back to a moment where something came through and you just went to, like, and you just went, nope. And you're like, and these are all the reasons. Look at those reasons and try to find the emotional root of them, because that could be something that is blocking your intuition from coming through fully.
Right. So just have a little brain dump, get these fears out, see what your stories are, and just kind of have a moment to just look at that. And this is so important, what Runa is saying, because your mind, your conscious awareness has got a lot of limitation, right? By its nature, like, to keep us sane, our logical conscious mind has to have these kind of limits, but our intuitive mind doesn't really care about those limits. Like, it doesn't need you to feel totally safe. The conscious mind is like, keep them safe, because if they realize the four walls around them are only standing up because they expect them to be, they'll combust. Like, we know that matter is mostly space. Like, the four walls around you right now are like 99% space. But to us, they seem solid. So your intuitive mind doesn't have that much respect or regard really for all of that. It's not gonna pull its punches. It's just gonna like tell you straight, it's this, it's this. It's not gonna argue with you. So if your conscious mind, which is very loud and kind of bossy and thinks it's right and has a lot of certainty, if your conscious mind's like, no, this is how it is, your intuitive mind's like, meh, okay. Like, it's never gonna intervene. It's never gonna fight you on it. It's never gonna challenge you. It's just gonna lean back until it's invited again, until you're ready, until you're available. So we are consciously today going, I know that I don't know, and it's okay. Actually, it's really exciting, because what I have in my physical reality right now is the creation of everything I've thought in the past. It's the creation of all that stuff that was programmed into me by my society, by the culture, by the media, by my family of origin, by my schooling. And this is where I am. And you may be really super happy with where you are. In your health right now, in your relationships right now, in your career, you might just be like, everything's 5-star, everything's A1, it's really good. But you might be like, do you know what? Like, I've had a health scare in the last year and I'd like to think differently about that. Or I really feel like it's time for a change in my career and I'd like to be in my power around that and maybe think differently, or my home situation, whatever, right? And that is where the intuitive power comes into its own and saves the day. And Albert Einstein said, the intuitive mind is this gift. It's this gift, like a gift from the divine. And the conscious mind is like this faithful servant. But we have made intuition the servant and the conscious mind the master. And it's one of the reasons why yogis stand on their heads. They stand on their heads to get the conscious mind not in the top position, right? We've had a lot of this top-down thinking, from the head rules the show, right? Everyone living from the neck up. Using your intuition and living an intuitive life is about like turning things on their head, thinking differently, working differently, allowing yourself to hang upside down. If you can't figure out a problem, like literally turn upside down and put your heart above your head physically for a moment and take some deep breaths and like see what inspiration comes to you. If you feel like, actually, I know there's other ways to think about this, but I've got myself stuck in a rut. I've been on this like lockdown, or with, you know, no one's been seeing new vistas for a while, really. We've found more constraints, we've found more limits. It's about tapping in to this way broader vista and inviting it into your conscious reality every single day and saying, everything that I see, that the past, this is all a reflection of the past. This is a printout of my inner world right now. And the past does not equal the future. So as we go through this psychic series this week, whilst we're in this final week of the sun in Pisces, the opportunity is just vast to think differently about our lives and to wire ourselves slightly differently by not letting the head drive the boat all the time. Like saying to the head, like, you're here, like you're the faithful servant and I need you, and I need you to book flights and figure out my schedule and like do a lot of things. There's a lot of jobs that only the mind and the head can do, but like, should you be driving the bus? Like, are you really equipped? Like, let's have a look at how humanity is doing on a global scale and answer that question from there. So the access then is about the tipping point is about saying, well, why don't we just get curious? Why don't we just play? Why don't we just experiment with dropping down every moment and into the body and just feeling the way? Like you can actually tell when your body moves towards something or if it's repelled by someone. You can close your eyes and hold, if I take this route, how do I feel? And if I take that route, how does it feel? And I take that route. And I always say to my clients, like, try it on, walk around in it, but don't cut the labels out. Because so many people are afraid to even consider a different thing. And it's like, I don't even want to think about what would happen if I left my husband, or I don't even think about what would happen if I quit this job. I'm not saying turn the apple cart upside down and, like, you know, like, you know how Rumi is like, you know, destroy your reputation. Like, if you want, like, go for it. But what I'm saying is, even just allow yourself in your own mind to go there. Just give yourself permission to try on different sides. If you're struggling in an area right now with your health, like, should I go vegetarian, or like, should I try this program? Is this the right mentor for me? Like, whatever the area is that you have a question and you want to bring your intuition into the game, it's not about overthinking it and spinning your wheels in your mind. It's about dropping into your body, breathing, connecting to Mother Earth, really intending that, you know, like the highest will be done, like good be done, the highest good for everyone, including you and all of life. And then just play out in your mind the different scenarios and give yourself more options. Like, if you can only think of two things, like Republican or Democrat, red or blue, like black or white, up or down, that's a false dichotomy. Your intuition never does that. Your intuition's like, how about this? How about this? How about this? What about that? What about this? It's like, there's many options, infinite how. There's infinite how. And there's no wrong. You cannot get it wrong, and you're not wrong. It's just, this is what's true for me. This is what suits me. This is how I like to do business. This is what I'm looking for in a partnership. And these are my values. And so allowing yourself the permission to literally try on different scenarios of what you want to step into in this next phase of your life. As I say, we're going into Aries season. The sun in 1 week's time is going to move into the first house of the zodiac. I am. This is about me. This is about you. And whilst the age of Aquarius is about us, there's a paradox in it where you really get to be a big part of the solution when you're really in your own being, in your own self. And you're really resting into who that person is and what she desires, what she values, what she's about, and kind of how she wants to create her reality. And so this is one of the skills, right? Once you've looked at the fears and the blocks, now you've got to get some tools of living intuitively. And it's not about thinking it through. It's about feeling your way and opening options, like having, almost like seeing yourself at the mouth of a river, and there's all these tributaries, and you get to feel down each of one and like sort of project your energy down each one and just check how you feel, check how you feel, check how you feel. Try on those different scenarios. Try on the shoes, walk around, don't cut the labels out, just see if they fit. See what works for you and what color looks right, and does your bum look big in it? And that's how you do it. That is how you make the choices and you select what is best for you. And this is something that women are actually really under practiced at, because we haven't been shown these ropes. And you can start with things like ordering off a menu. You can start with things like, you know, Rue, you've got some good practical examples, I know, like object lessons. You know, maybe you can share some of the ways that you've worked this muscle and like trained your intuition so that you have these life skills, because this is a life skill.
Yeah, definitely. I personally believe that intuition is the only skill that you need in this world, because when you have mastered your intuition, then it actually guides everything else you need to learn and everything else that you need to pick up in your life, right? So if you can know, just the first thing you ever need to know is, does this feel right or not? That's all you need. That's the only information you need at the beginning. And if you get a no, then you start asking questions, not from the no, like frequency of the mind, but you just start getting curious. Okay, what do I feel about why this doesn't feel right? And usually the first thing you think is usually it, you know, and that's, I think, the block that sometimes there's the first thing you think, and then there's everything else, right?
We rationalize it.
That we rationalize. Yeah. So if you just practice going with that first thing and just try it on, see if that takes you to different places, you know? But I feel like I personally, you know, I use my intuition for literally everything in my life. There is not a single decision or choice that I make, even down to what I eat and when I'm doing what I'm doing. And I always say that to practice with such low stakes examples is a great way of building your intuition. Because when you, first of all, it's exactly what you said, Kat. You have to choose that your intuition and your body, your higher self, that deeper knowing is going to be running every single part of your life. Once you make that choice, then you start to practice. And it is a practice. It's a lifelong journey of deepening into this. But the beautiful thing is, it only gets better. You know what I mean? You only get stronger in it, and it gets more expanded, and that's beautiful. You trust yourself more. But if you practice with really simple things, like the first place I used my intuition was food and intuitive eating. And then as you do that, then you'll feel a lot safer in the bigger things. So.
Yeah, 100%. Who is loving this, by the way? And is there any questions coming in? Suzanne is saying she's feeling into all of her tributaries right now. That's exactly where she's at. I'm sure a lot of you at this tail end of the time of Pisces right now, you know, you're feeling into these decisions. You're feeling into what's next, because come the spring equinox, we're into that yang time of the year, and certainly in the northern hemisphere, and it's like, let's go, let's ride. And so right now we're reflecting and just fine-tuning. It's perfect. Yeah. And I love that Suzanne is saying, this is what I want my daughter to learn, if nothing else. Like, if I can give my child one gift in this lifetime, it is to know her no. It is to know her yes. And how many of us had that knocked out of us? Yesterday, my daughter loves going to school, and yesterday I was like, honey, are you going to school today? Because I make a point of like speaking to her gut and like asking her, not her head, but like, honey, are you going to school today? Because she looked a bit like droopy, and it wasn't like her, and she went, no. Really strong in her center, and part of me was like, oh God, I so need her to go to school today. I've got an event for the Eden room, and like, this isn't working for me. It's a Mother's Day pamper session, and I was like, okay, what's the matter? And she's just like, yeah, don't feel good, you know. So I was like, wow, it's really the first time that she's ever not wanting to go because she loves school. And I was like, okay. And I just trusted her no on it. I didn't force her to go when she felt bad and give her a dose of something and make her like push through it. I was like, okay. And then she rested all day, and she drank food, and she went out to the park, and her energy got brighter and brighter throughout the day. But not in that way when it's like 10 past 9 and you've got the kid off school, and then they're like, oh, hi, what can we do? Can we go to the, and you're like, you weren't really ill. It was like a slow burn that she got better and better. And then today she was totally fine, bounced out of bed, was up early before everybody else, got herself dressed, and was like ready for school. And it was just like, she knows. She's not talked out of her energy yet. She knows, I have a no on this today. Out of the blue, out of nowhere. But by honoring her no, like her yes was right back there this morning. Like, she was ready to go. She recharged, she got what she needed, and she was ready to go. And it was so beautiful, because that's how we are. You know, and we're not meant to push through. We're not meant to burn out. We're not meant to wear ourselves thin. You know, we're meant to allow our no's. And so many women have lost their no. They've lost their you know, just not on my no. Just not by any no. And just no. And it's and it's incredible to really feel that we give our daughters permission, and we bless them by integrating this into our lives. And it's like Runa says, it's not a quick fix. It's a journey of really discovering how you uniquely operate, your own unique navigation system, how you course correct, because sometimes you can realize halfway down, you don't have to get to the end of the road before you go, we went down the wrong road. You can do the U-turn, and you get more and more elegant at saying, I'm not getting a yes on that. But I don't really know why. So
number one tool.
Number one tip.
Honestly, if you can just learn to say that, that is going to save you so much emotional distress. If you can just learn to just not even have the answer, like Kat is saying, but just say, I'm not getting a yes on that. I'm not sure why. Are you open to exploring this? That's it.
Right?
That's it.
And especially if you're in a partnership, a business partnership, or a marriage that's like a real strong commitment, and you have to work things through with that person, and maybe your default has just been going along with them to keep them happy, or maybe your default has been every time there's a disagreement, you have a big fight, or it just goes really Pete-tong. By giving yourself permission to be like, oh, like, I don't know why, but I'm not getting a yes on this, like, just to open into that curious soft space, into the inquiry and the permission to not know, is so liberating. It's so freeing. And even the other statement, like, I really love these like negative statements because they soften it. It's not like saying, it's like, that's not going to work for me, or that's not a fit for me. And it's just such a nice and elegant way to just, you get to accept or reject in this life. The universe, as I said, is going to keep, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And your job is to be like, I'm not getting a yes on that. Because you probably know your yes. You probably know what a yes feels like in your body. Like if I say, hey, like I've got this spare £100,000, would you like it? Like you probably know what a yes feels like, or you might be like, what? But if there's like a, I don't know, actually, like, is there something wrong with it? Like, where did you get it from? Like, how did that come about? What's the catch? Like, so sometimes your body is just going to go, I want the chicken salad. Done. Right? And sometimes you'll be like, I don't know. And it's like you're allowing yourself space to work out, okay, if it's not yes, then what is it? Is it like, yes, if these circumstances are correct, these conditions make it a yes? Or is it, wait, not now, like you don't know yet, and that's okay? Or is it like, I don't know, but really I don't want to know what I know, because I'm afraid that if I say no to this, I'm going to lose love or validation or security or acceptance. And for women, oftentimes it's that, we're doing things for control or approval or security, and we don't even realize how much we're running over our intuition because we're kind of addicted and attached to those outcomes or circumstances that we think will be taken away if we're true to ourselves.
It's like any place that you're rigid emotionally or mentally is going to be a place that is putting a veil over your intuition, restricting your intuition, or blocking your intuition, right? So when I say rigid emotionally, I don't mean just like angry or frustrated. I just mean it's like a strong rut. It's a place, it's a very well-worn place for you, where it's a place of safety, but obviously there's going to be old emotional imprints of pain involved there. So then, Kat and I were riffing about this, about, one of the best things that you can do to clear up your intuition is to clear out those old emotional imprints and all those old emotional stories. And of course, it's going to take a lot of courage. I think that's the number one thing it takes, because, I was reflecting as you were talking, Kat, about those object lessons and how this time in our history on the planet, external circumstances feel louder than ever. Right? They feel really loud, like that there's all this limitation outside that we, some of it we don't have control over, right? And the thing with the intuition is it always gives you this magic path out. And your intuition is your ally in the understanding that opportunity is always an inside job, right? But in order to follow through on that opportunity, you have to be willing, and you have to hold the parts of you that are scared, and you have to just be willing to color outside of those lines emotionally and mentally. And so that's something that I really invite you to reflect on in your life, right? Where are those old emotional patterns, maybe, like where your intuition wants to be this vast painting, this landscape of just like flowing in and out like that river, all those tributaries, where your spirit wants to fly like this. Where is it that you feel you have to play in this tiny, tiny, tiny little avenue. And how can you gently and lovingly break yourself out of that?
Right. It's so true, because it is scary, right? It is scary because it's the unknown.
Yeah.
And so this is where the self-soothing, you become a master of feeling your way, as you say. I love how you said that, like holding yourself. And everyone who wrote down your fears, now what I want you to do, like if you want, give us an example of one of your fears in the comments. That I think that would really help. And I'll show you how to flip it. If anyone's stuck, then you flip it. So take that statement, like, if I trust my intuition, my life will fall apart. And I want you to flip it. So because I trust my intuition, my life comes together. My life comes together in perfect and divine order. Okay. What else? Like, if I trust my intuition, I'll always be late for things. If I trust my intuition, I don't know, the wheels are going to fall off. Like, what are your fears? Like, what are those statements that you have that are gonna go wrong if you trust your intuition? What are you going to lose? What are you afraid of losing? Because there's no loss in divine mind, but our ego says, like, it's not safe. It's not safe to change, to disrupt, to innovate, to go with this flow. And it's uncomfortable because of our ego, our subconscious hold on our safety and security. Because women want to be free, we want to be magical, we want to be radiant, we want to be tapped into our feminine wisdom. Oh, but we also want to be safe. Right? So there's this inherent conflict between the life we could lead, our intuitive life, the expanse of our soul's vision for our life, and then, but like, I got to pay my bills and I got to keep my kids clothed, and you know, I don't want to upset anyone, right? So this is where we can meet all this resistance, because we think that somehow if we make these changes, it's going to disrupt everyone and everything, and it's selfish.
Yeah.
And you have to always affirm, what serves my highest good serves the highest good of everyone. Even if you can't fathom that out in the moment, you have to affirm, so that you won't make decisions that harm. We think that if we allow ourselves this power, we'll use it and we'll harm people. Actually, the opposite is true. We're usually much more harmful when we're in that victim mode and when we're not trusting ourselves.
That's a really, 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 really important one, Kat. What is in the highest good for me is in the highest good of all, because that will just blitz through the parts of the intuition that are being blocked by any codependent behaviors, you know? And I just want to share really quickly that I'm feeling so much energy in my throat when you asked about, like, where is it getting blocked? And I feel like there's something here, maybe collectively in the space, around not even necessarily knowing what it is, but being able to express the intuition. And this is important because in human design, the throat center is what brings things from spirit into form. That's what brings things from, you know, from the idea into form. That's why manifestors in human design have a defined throat center. So, and they have it as a motor very specifically. So I just feel like there's a lot in the field here around codependence, feeling safe to express and the intuition. And I just saw that, you know, Dana posted the fear of that she'll get punished or be in trouble. So this for me is, it's like, it's not even about being connected to it necessarily, although that's a big part of it, but feeling like you can bring it out into the world where there's like that block. So just thought I'd share that.
And that's the truth, right? The words are like water. Like, in the beginning there was the word, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning there was the word, and the word was good. The word was God. So God is the word. So like that, what that means is that words are the bridge. Words are the bridge. They're like liquid. If air is thoughts, words are like water, and ice is like form. It's like, that's how the Trinity works. Like, its spirit becomes matter through the voice, really, and through our describing and casting the vision. We cast the vision. That's what we do. We share and we cast the vision, especially with this energy that we're in right now. You've got to speak it out, or you've got to write it down. You've got to affirm, it is safe for me to trust my intuition. I am powerful, and it's safe for me to be powerful, right? I am the power in my world. Yeah. And then to say, like, when you fear punishment, right? If I trust my intuition, I'll be punished. Isn't that interesting, right? Like, that was the case.
That's not that many years ago. Like, our body keeps the score, right? Our DNA holds those memories. We were punished. If you were intuitive, it was enough to want to walk out in a field with your dog to be burnt as a witch, okay, in the last 500 years. So when that genocide happened on women, and I'm talking millions of people died, okay, take that, coronavirus. Like, millions of women were killed for their intuitive power, for their wisdom, for their seeing, for their vision casting, for their medicine. And when that happened, of course we learned that we would be punished if we were wise, if we were powerful, if we were strong in these unseen ways. So the thing is, though, we have to give ourselves permission to recognize those days are gone. That's not how it is now, right? Like, the baby elephant who is tied to the post doesn't try and uproot it when it's a fully grown elephant, because in its head it thinks, I can't do that anymore. But now that it's a mother elephant, it could pull that post out in a heartbeat if it only knew. You know, when you see like cows just like being herded, like to go to the dairy, and you think, man, they're so powerful. Like, if they just turn around and like ran and like, there's this number of like farmers that get killed every year by cows, like, they can just turn around and like just blow the joint, but they, you know, they're not in that consciousness. They don't really know they're being held captive. We're holding ourselves captive in our minds by thinking that we will be punished if we trust that. So you don't even have to act differently. You just have to affirm differently. You have to speak and cast the vision for yourself. Like, it is so safe for me to be powerful. What would be the opposite of, if I trust my intuition, I will be punished? Like, if I trust my intuition, I will be blessed. If I trust my intuition, I'll be blessed beyond measure. I will be celebrated. Yeah, I will be met with full glory, right? With my divine right, my divine being, my divine counterpart, my divine purpose, my divine abundance. When I trust my divine intelligence flowing through me, as me, in my body, in this now moment, when I get into my truth as a being, all life responds in that exact moment, and the divine plan comes to pass under grace in a perfect way. And so it is, and it is done.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Nailed it.
We're taking it back. So this is really the secrets and the key, and the real key and the truth is, you need to be so loving and kind with yourself, because you know what, there's gonna be a time or an occasions where maybe you order the spaghetti and your intuition was like, damn, I knew I should have had the fish, right? Yeah. Like, it's gonna happen. And you know what, it's totally okay. It's totally okay. The quicker that you can forgive and learn and just try and clock what happened there. Did I not drink enough water? Because even just staying hydrated, like, I suggest before you order your food, order water and just hydrate, so that you can really tap in and feel what you want to eat, right? But that is a metaphor for every day. Like, we're mainly dehydrated, and if we're dehydrated, it's super, you can't even muscle test if you stay hydrated, and then you do the things that help you connect uniquely. If you're in your fight or flight, we talked about this. If you didn't catch the Eden Room session yesterday, it was a beautiful session, really beautiful. I recommend you go back to it. It was kind of like a pampering for your soul. We did 20 minutes or 15 minutes of yoga and a guided meditation where you met a guide and you went into the temple within you. And it was a beautiful, beautiful session, right? Those practices, those things, tools that move you into your parasympathetic nervous system, that is what the Eden Room is packed of in those rooms, right? There's going to be spaces where you have masterclasses and all different information, but those rooms are about moving you into your parasympathetic nervous system, whether you're listening to Runa's crystal bowl session or my affirmations or doing 15 minutes of movement, or listening to the mixes. It's all about you coming back into your calibration so that you can accurately hear and respond to your intuitive knowing and the divine intelligence within us all. And it's just such a gift to give yourself those treatments every day, and know that you're going to get like little mistakes and course corrections, but that you're on the right track. So stay hydrated, set yourself up for success each day, discern how your intuition likes to connect and talk to you, which of your senses seem most sort of strong with it, and just practice. Rue, any final thoughts? We're at the top of the hour, so I want to close up the energy.
Yeah.
But this is great. Thank you.
Okay, it's been so lovely. I just want to share two things that have been in the field as we were closing up here. One is I'm feeling a lot of energy in the right arm. So that for me is like the active, what we do in the world, our destiny and our destiny, like our dharma. So feels like there's a bit of a block there around the intuition and like really trusting that to move through. So the mental flash or the image that I got to help with that, if anyone is feeling that in their space, is like, imagine that your life is like this, sea of paints almost, and you can make changes in your life by just introducing a new color into that sea of paints, right? So this right arm thing that feels blocked is like this feeling like you're gonna have to force it, feeling like you're gonna have to really struggle, and just maybe times where you tried and didn't succeed. So that's kind of all creating all this frustrated energy there. So if that's you and you're feeling that, just try practicing in your meditation that you can make changes in your life by just introducing new colors into this like sea of color in your consciousness. So try that on if you feel that. That's all.
I love that. I think a lot of people feel they messed it up in the past. Or they got burned or didn't work out, and so now they don't trust themselves. And it's giving the permission to actually use your agency in the world now from this inward space, and get that aligned action with your intuition, so you can manifest from your intuition powerfully. And thank you, those of you sending the love. We love that you are loving these events, that we're with this all week, guys. This is our psychic series, so stay tuned, stay connected, keep your eye on the Eden Room Facebook page and in the Eden Room itself, because we're going to be doing a really nice psychic sundowner on Friday. We have a medium from New Orleans on Friday. It's all happening. So that's our event, The Other Side, which is coming up, and then the psychic sundowner on Friday. And then tomorrow night, I think it's 8 p.m, we're doing a Meet Your Spirit Guide meditation with me in the Eden Room. So I'm super excited. So this is going to keep flowing all week. And thank you so much, ladies, for being with us. Really feel you in the space. And anyone watching on the replay, please add your comments and feedbacks. We really love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Runa. Any closing thoughts from you before we go?
No, it's just been great. Thank you.
So good. So much love, people. I'll see you tomorrow for the meditation, and I hope you get to catch the replay from yesterday. So this has been Kat, Diva, and Runa Zarka for the Eden Room. Love you, ladies. See you next time. Bye for now.